Hi, everyone. Welcome to the African Hummingbird podcast. My name is Stacy, and I'm here with
Sharon. Leo simbi jina yangu. I'm becoming an adult now. I need
Anyway,
to act like one.
are you under by age you are, but
I'm still children.
your children?
I'm changa.
How are you, Sharon? You look so lovely today. Sharon
Always
is in
do.
all white.
You know, angels.
I'm in black. I'm giving Steve Jobs today with a turtleneck.
What based Steve Jobs.
Quick maths based.
I know.
Anyway, how are you?
Doing well. I'm just very happy and excited to talk about this book. That was a very easy read for me. Yeah.
Did you finish it?
So it's the first book I have finished in a long time. So
Makofi. Have I finally convinced you to be a reader? No, umemaliza hadi to the end, page 267.
I'm a reader now. I'm a reader. So mimi na maktaba kuu ya Kenya.
Love to see it.
Yeah. And I said in the first episode when we were introing about ourselves, I said that I really love heavy topics and sad books and mambo
So
mbaya
this one
mbaya.
ni type yako kabisa.
Nilikuwa nasoma hivi nasema suicide, I'm just happy. Okay, no.
It's so dark.
Happiness is a bit of an overstatement. I just enjoyed reading the book.
Yeah. So before we continue, today we are reviewing this book, Confessions of Nairobi Men. It was written by Joan Thatiah. And before we continue to dive into the review of this book, we want to give you a heads up and a disclaimer that we will give spoilers ahead. So if you're not comfortable with spoilers, please pause, go read this book, then come back to our podcast episode of this book. So that's over and done with. So Sharon, are you excited?
I am, but I also want to share trigger warnings because, as I mentioned, it's a very heavy book and talks a lot of heavy topics as well.
Yeah.
So some of the trigger warnings we would like to share is that it talks about suicide, sexual abuse, rape, felony, domestic abuse, alcoholism, addiction, and death. A lot of death.
Yeah. Nakwambia, this book was sad and emo at the same time.
Sad and what?
Emotional. Emo.
Emo ni Sikuzi mneka short form ya emotional.
Has it not been like that?
Yo emo boy. Emo boy, emo girl nahanga emotional.
Yeah.
Crazy. I genuinely have never known. Never.
Yeah. So me, it was also it's a quick read.
Yes.
I like how the fonts of this book, it's so catchy. Like, it's not big, it's not too small. So it just gives you the psych to continue reading. Yeah. Also, if I may say, it's a page turner. You can't read it in one sitting. Did you read it in one sitting?
So I read it on a Sunday and I started at 10 a.m. and by around 5 p.m. I was done.
Yeah.
I can't say it was I wasn't sat down. I was laying in bed and I didn't leave my bed. It's okay. Sawa, yes. I read it in technically one
sitting. Yeah.
And it uses very easy language as well.
Exactly.
I really like that.
Yeah. Also, if you really want to start reading, I would recommend this book. But nitakupatia to disclaimer that it's a heavy read.
Yeah.
With that trigger warning Sharon had said.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Joan describes her own book as, and I'll read the about the book section at the back of the page. It says, Confessions of Nairobi Men is a culmination of 3 years of Joan Thatiah spending, oh my God, I don't know why I've forgotten how to read. After saying that,
are you illiterate? Okay,
give that girl. Confessions of Nairobi Men is a culmination of 3 years Joan Thatiah has spent listening to stories of men and women living in Nairobi. The stories in this book are as raw and as messy as they are bold and how inspiring. In this book, you'll meet men who have been brave, men who have been broken in every way, men who are still trying to pick up the pieces of their lives, and men who have been deeply faulted. And I like that it's like a short story, a collection of short stories. It has around 15 stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like short stories.
Same. I think, when we started the podcast, we said that I really struggle to read. And one of the things that you recommended is maybe you should start by reading short stories.
Yeah.
Combinations of short stories where you can say, oh, Saadisha Soma, 15 of the 17 short stories.
Yeah.
I think I found my rhythm.
Yeah.
Am I a reader now?
Oh,
Thank you. Tumalize tuone kwanza.
So about this book, so maybe we can start by the cover and the cover art of this book. I really like it. I really, really like it. So
I honestly didn't think of it.
You didn't think of it?
Yeah.
So it's a bit abstract
Mhm.
because it has touches of yellow, green, orange.
Green. I think it's
light green. Turquoise.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my non-specificity of the color green.
Color blindness.
Then huku chini, there is like a illustration of Nairobi. So you can see KICC, you can see
Jamia Mosque.
Okay,
you may guess.
I think this is Carrot Times Tower. Yeah, so it's just an illustration of Nairobi to, I guess, symbolize
that it is Nairobi indeed.
The setting of this book is in Nairobi.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now we can get into the stories, right?
So let's get into the
First of all, let me tell you what happened when I started to read this book. It's on page 1.
Yeah.
I read the first line and I closed the book. And I told
and I'm like,
in that moment,
relax.
Just
finish the book because you can't just close the book at
the first line.
At the first.
And now let me read out the first line.
Yes.
For people to understand why it was actually very shocking for me.
Maybe we can touch on the first one.
Okay.
Since you've touched on it already.
Sawa.
Say what it's about. Maybe you can just state what it's about.
Okay.
The theme across.
Okay. So the story is basically about a man who was married to Grace. And at some point, he came across evidence that the 3 children that he had with his wife were not his.
Yes.
And were his best friends, or rather one of his friends. And he did the DNA test, and was it really all the 3 children?
No, so the firstborn was... So this man had a close friend called Philip.
Yes.
So Philip apparently was having an intimate relationship with a wife. And the firstborn was Philip's.
Yes.
Then the secondborn and the thirdborn, they didn't know because it wasn't Philip's. Philip's confirmed.
None of the 3. Oh, yeah. It
the second and the third, were not him.
Yeah.
Were not his. Yeah.
So when he confronted his wife and saying, what's happening? Are they also all mine? Where do I have any children within this marriage? She alirudi kwao. I don't know what happened. I think I've read this book a long time ago. I narrate story wrong. But all I remember is that
so
when he confronted her, he just shut down and he left because alikuwa amesema hapa nitafanya kitu mbaya, I might end up being violent. So exactly. So he went away. And then at some point he got called by Grace and he was ready to speak now. Alikuwa calm down. And they had agreed. Grace alimwambia, come to our home, we can talk.
So Syokimau is the house they were building. The man, what was his name? What we told the name?
I don't remember his name. Let me see.
I also can't remember his name, but Grace told him that they were building a house in Syokimau.
Yes.
Where they will go live happily ever after. Like that was their family home and their home.
Yes.
So when Grace mentioned Syokimau and the dreams this Syokimau home brought to the man was like, alikuwa na soft heart towards Syokimau. Like, okay, maybe we can work out things.
Yes.
Like that. He was ready for that. So
let's fix this.
Wanaume
aliingia war room.
Yeah. He was like, okay, fine, let me just go. Syokimau is the home we've built. We have had dreams and whatever. Aspirations. Let's go talk about it. On going there, what does he find?
A hanging body.
The wife hanging. She committed suicide.
Yeah.
Is that the right term?
No, died by suicide.
I'm sorry. She died by suicide.
Yeah.
So you can imagine just entering a room, you wanting to reconcile with your wife, because we don't know whether he had hoped for reconciliation. But you're going there, find your wife hanging.
No, that's a lot.
It was just the first story. Joan.
Nikafunga kitabu. Genuinely, kama ningeachia hapo, ningekuwa nimetoshe. Verbally speak about a bad marriage. I mean, it happens across the book.
Yeah.
But it's not as common.
Yeah, men don't talk about it a lot.
At least to us.
Exactly.
At least to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
what I found beautiful is after the wife's death, this guy decided to like take up. He knew very well the kids are not his
yeah.
biologically, and he just decided, you know what, even if you're not my kids, I love you, I'll protect you, I'll provide for you. Let's just live as a family.
But angefanya nini? You know, why would you
Exactly.
take the children? Because the woman died before telling.
But you know, if it was another man,
oh, you're not
not my
legally.
kids.
Not my monkey, not my circus.
my monkey,
Calling children monkey is crazy.
it is actually.
Actually, black children. Racism.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
I
yeah.
think that was quite beautiful of the man.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't know whether Philip took up anything responsibility of the fact.
I don't know why I didn't talk
Joan?
about it. Acha nitamdm niambia hi Joan.
Yeah.
Sitaki mambo mengi hata sina mambo.
Tuko na maswali zingine mbele.
One of the senior people in the company made advances at him, who's also a man. So they're both men. He alimambush kwa toilet and he was like, give it to me. But you know, if you don't, usiposema, I mean, like ukisema, no one will really know. They'll believe me.
They'll not
and
believe
they'll
you.
believe him. Yeah,
Most definitely.
So he ended up quitting his job and he went and stayed at home.
Yeah.
Now, when he went to stay at home, he lived with his mom. And mamake akaanza ile madharau ya wenzako wako huko nje wako na kazi. Why don't you have a job? What are you doing with your life? etc. etc.
Yeah.
And then your misery started to hit him.
Yeah. So even before that, maybe backstory.
Yes.
We are told this guy, what was his name?
I didn't write names in my notes.
I think it's Gonza. Yeah, Gonza.
Yeah.
Backstory. Gonza's father was abusive to the mom. He was physically violent to the mom. He used to beat her when he was a kid.
Yes.
Of course, he used to see all this violence, and in a way, he wanted to protect the mom against the dad.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that part. What happened to him? So one day,
I mean, get teenage. He's been circumcised.
He feels like a man, you know. He stood for the mom.
Yes.
And unfortunately, kwa hiyo sarakasi ya
sarakasi is a crazy word. Sarakasi is a crazy word.
Kwa hiyo sarakasi ya protect the mom against the dad who was fighting him, he killed him.
Yeah, because the dad was had threatened to throw the mom across from the balcony. But it ended up being him.
Because nani ali kwa hiyo sarakasi ya kusave mamake?
Our boy Konza.
Our boy Gonza.
Can we speak Konza? Like the city.
Konza City. Ukale. So there's that also aspect. Then after of course, the law came to him.
Yes.
He was not under age. So alienda
juvenile.
Whatever. Juvenile prison. Yeah, so after juvenile, he's reformed and everything, he came out. But on coming out of jail, the mom still harbored anger.
Bitterness. You killed my husband.
You killed my husband.
Who was the provider? So now me, I'm forced to just stay here. So there's that aspect of the bitterness of the mother. It stemmed from that killing of the father. You had no right to kill my husband. My man,
I don't have my husband right now. And it's so crazy because if you think about it, Gonza was just protecting the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gonza amekuwa mkubwa, looking for a job. At least ampata a job. Then all of a sudden you're coming home to an unemployment. You're just sitting at the couch. I'm just seeing you like how your father was useless because we were told kitambo that the father was also deemed quote unquote useless.
Yeah.
Because the mom was really the provider. This one was so heavy. Also, I think the theme that came across was sexual harassment because the boss, who's a guy, and the threats. Unikubali ama nikufute kazi ama nikuseme. So kwa TikTok, I saw this guy. I think he's quite famous. And if you're really into TikTok, I'm sure some of you have seen this TikTok. So the guys were saying, I'll speak in Swahili. Ati boss wangu ananikatia. So he's a guy who's saying it. So the boss is hitting on him.
Yes.
He's also a guy. So the guy is hitting on the guy. Boss wangu ananikatia. I'm in shit if I accept his offer, but I'm also in shit if I don't. Because if I accept, then something goes wrong at the end.
I'll still
Nitakutoka.
lose. Yeah.
So nikikubali, nikikataa, bado atanionea na lazima I'll lose job. So there's that. When I saw that TikTok, kakumbuka hiyo.
Makes sense.
Yeah, story.
I think one of the other themes that came across for me is the lack of social protection in Kenya.
Yeah.
And just the cases of male-to-male sexual assault are like don't go as noticed as the other
women, men to women.
Exactly. Alafu, one of the funny things that I noticed, direct translation ya page 26, the mother alikuwa anasema, you have arrived, zileza. Oh, umefika. Umefika. I don't know why that was so funny to me, because I know it's a Kenyan. And for sure, someone who doesn't speak Kenyan English would not
understand. Yeah. So but what I kept asking myself is, what if Gonza had stayed at work?
Yeah.
What would have happened?
I think he asked himself the same question.
Yeah.
Like, if I actually stood up against him and reported him, what would have happened? Would I still have a job now?
I really wish he could.
Yeah, because he's a social media manager.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one other thing is that this guy now lives with a disability.
Yeah.
He sits on a wheelchair. And actually, it's just there's just a lot of things going on. But to close off this part, unless you want to say something else about the second story, there's a line that I really, really loved that says, Gonza says now, I still have the scars in the shape of her words all over me. That sounds so poetic. But also sad at the same time.
Yeah. But also to umenikumbusha another theme is just parenting.
Yeah.
I think these two people need to go to therapy and be open to just talk about everything they are feeling. Because I feel like the mother has so many unsaid words.
Pains,
bitterness. Which
are valid.
But also this Gonza, I hope, because ishafanyika.
Yeah.
But since it's based on real story, I just hope that he is more resilient in life.
Yeah.
I want to stand up for myself.
That's a bit insensitive considering
because that's what I feel he should have done.
He uses a wheelchair.
Wheelchair, what happened? Kwa wheelchair, by the way, because I can't remember.
I also don't remember, but I know for sure telling someone on a wheelchair to stand up is crazy.
No, I didn't mean it.
I know.
I just got to get what you're saying, but that was a nice one. But I just wished and hope, and I really pray for him that I hope he builds up resilience.
Oh, I remember. He tried to kill himself. And then he ended up with a spinal injury that rendered half his body incapable of it.
Yeah, I remember, yes.
Yeah, I get it.
That's crazy.
It's also another crime in Kenya because when it's just a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the second story.
That's just the second story. Imagine the other 12. Anyway, another story that stood out for me. Is there any other story that stood out for you? For instance? Yeah.
The third one.
Taxi driver.
The taxi driver. So this story is called The Street. The Streets Break Me and Put Me Back Together. Is that correct English?
Do they have titles?
The Streets Break Me and Put Me Back Together. They do.
Oh, okay.
So this story is about a cab driver, an online cab driver.
Atu imagina?
Imesema, they didn't say.
I thought you were saying that should make sense.
No. So, so the story is just the day-to-day life of a cab driver.
Yes.
He explained the kind of passengers he normally gets.
Yeah.
And which type of passenger are you, Sharon?
Let me tell you. You know, I actually had that in my notes. That's the only note I had from that story. Like, which cab driver are you?
Yeah.
I think usually it depends. So just for context for the listeners, he was saying that some passengers will come in and yapa. Some will just come in and be silent. Some will come in and just listen to your music. Some will request music.
Yeah, and there are those who
Are on the phone.
are on the phone, and they pretend they're talking about important deals. They are talking in millions. Unashanga wewe, so you had time to go to the office. Where you talking about important things
And that's
in the
crazy.
cab.
Though. Yeah.
Anyway, these cab drivers, they know stories.
They do.
They have stories for days.
Yeah.
May think I'm the one. It depends with the vibe of the driver. So normally, in my normal self, mimi tunaenda, I order an Uber.
But I'm mostly silent. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Back to our guy.
Yeah, one passenger he got that is touched on this story is this lady. What was her name? Again with names.
I haven't wrote any names.
Anyway, there's this girl who, let's call her X.
Mora.
Oh, Mora. Shout out Whitney.
Wakisi oe.
So Mora alioda cab, and the first time that they met, they pigared good stories, and Mora suggested, because Mora gave him a 5-star.
Yes.
Yeah, so because he was a good driver to her, she decided to take her number so that at times when she needs the cab, she can call.
Okay.
Yeah, she can call him offline and just up wherever. So 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, they vibed. Akakuwa akimpigia simu, she became a frequent
customer,
passenger. So there was one particular time, where was she going? I don't know where she was going. She called him from Thika Road.
Party or something. To Raka.
To Runda.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So before that, there was one time. You want to say that part?
No, I don't even know which part that you want to say.
So there was one day, Mora called the Uber guy.
Oh, I've known. Mm-hmm.
And she was kind of tipsy.
Yes.
Yeah. So akampeleka, akamfikisha kwake. Then on reaching the gate, Mora was like, do you want to come up?
Kamkejani.
Kuja Kejani. Then the cab driver went up, and they had a physical, intimate moment.
Yeah.
And from there...
Coitus.
Yeah, coitus. So from there henceforth, was it quent?
No, it actually just happened once.
It only happened once.
And we didn't even talk about it ever again.
Yeah, he just continued to be like the cab guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So there was one time, akampigia akamwambia, come to my apartment, you'll have to drop me to Runda.
Yes. I think yes.
To Runda. Mm-hmm. So the cab driver comes. So at Runda, it was just this beautiful big compound. It was giving richness. It was giving wealthy.
Yes.
Yeah. So what the Uber driver didn't know was that the place where they were going is the sponsor's place for Mora. Mora was a sponsee.
Yeah.
And they were going to the Mubabas for Mora.
Mubabe.
Yeah. And apparently, the Mubabas knew that Mora had slept with him. The guy. So Mora katoka nje. Then there's this big guy, the Mubabas for Mora came out with a gun. You remember that part?
I do. Hapo ndio Mora alikufa.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
So he came out. There's this Baba who came out with a gun when he saw that it was Mora who was in the cab and asked, so this is the guy you've been sleeping with? Okay, now exaggerate.
Yeah.
Commotion and everything.
I'm sure that's how he said it.
Yeah. This is the guy you've been sleeping with. Toka nje ya cab, nini. One thing led to another. Then the gun was
shot.
Kutoa hiyo nini. Anyway.
Kutoa nini?
Kutoa, like, uncocked.
Nito kutoa safety. Unclip.
The safety was removed.
I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl.
Anyway, so what happened was he wanted to shoot the Uber guy, but Mora came and protected the Uber guy, and Mora was shot. Sadly, the Mubabas who shot Mora called the police. I don't know whether it was
they said, I think just the police.
Someone just called the police. Police came, and it was said, the Mubaba said that it is this guy who had shot Mora.
Yeah.
Mora died.
Yes.
Mora died. This guy was taken to prison.
Yes.
Taken to prison.
He was.
He served
Lazima
his
lazima ulale ndani kidogo.
he served his term and later on came out.
No, he actually didn't serve his term. He went to the court process and he was found innocent.
Yeah.
So before like he was sentenced, he was found innocent. So he went home.
Yeah.
At that point, he decided to akaacha kazi ya cab. Then he decided to apply for jobs from his industry. But then he wasn't getting in the jobs. Akasema,
haikuwork.
This is why I actually started. Tunashtukia venue yetu ya kunini wamekuja kukutafuta.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hata sikuwa na ubaya. So his thought process was, this is exactly why I started to drive a cab, because I could not get a job.
Find a job.
Exactly.
So he just had to go back.
Yeah.
But this time he was more careful and it worked for him again.
And it worked.
I guess that's why the title for this story, The Streets Break Me and Put Me Back. But Bonnie sentence ikai correct. The streets break me and put me back together. I mean, my head
present continuous.
The streets. Oh yeah. The streets broke me and put me back together.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. So I found that story. At least very. Okay, it was emotional, but it wasn't that emotional.
Bar is in like emotional bar. Ishakuwa.
Wait, Mora died. Okay, I'm sorry, Mora. R.I.P.
Yekemincha people.
Sharon, stop. Yeah, so I also liked that story because I guess it's a story of hope in a way.
Yes.
To the man. Also please note that Mimi nasema it was a story of hope, not because someone died. It's because we are looking at the man.
Exactly. The topic,
this is the
persona ni mwanaume.
Tukitaka kudwell on Mora, that's another topic on its own.
Confessions of Nairobi Women.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there any other story that stood out for you?
Maybe you could say it.
Okay.
As I look for mine.
Mine is number 5.
Number 5.
And it's about a man who...
I remember this story.
Yeah. The thing is, I've forgotten most of these stories. I just have notes of the top line.
Same, because this story we read quite a while back.
Maybe 3 weeks ago. 2.
Yeah.
Actually 3.
Yeah.
Now, I'll talk about one of the other stories that was very fascinating to me, which is number 5. And it's called His Wife's Son. So this is a story about a man who was born out of wedlock before the mother got married again to a different man. And then they ended up having their own biological kids. But the guy never felt like he actually belonged, because kila time the man would introduce him as, oh, this is my wife's child. This is my child. So he had that bitterness of wondering, who is my father? Who's my biological father, and why did he leave? Because the mother had gotten a child way early akiwa a teenager.
Yeah.
So now, in his adulthood, he got married, he moved on with life, akapata watoto wake wenyewe, and he made a vow to ensure that his children will not go through the same thing that he went through, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he was having issues within his marriage. And actually, before the issues, he had told his wife that, I want to seek my father.
Yeah.
But the mother was constantly saying, no, don't look for your father. There's no need. He wouldn't think so. So all his life, he had scripted the day that he would meet his father and have a conversation. He was just looking for that fatherly love. Yeah, oh, these are all the things that I've done with life. Are you proud of me? These are all the medals.
He expected when he meets the father will be all arm stretched. Come here, my son.
My son.
Oh, my lost son.
Mtoto wangu
Prodigal son, come. Oh my God.
I was waiting for this day.
Yeah. But unfortunately,
that did not happen because when he called his father eventually, he had the number for years.
Yeah.
And when he called his father eventually, akamwambia, don't usinisumbue. These are things that have passed. If you want to have a happy life, just don't reach out to me.
Because I have another family.
I have another family. Don't disrupt it.
Don't wreck us apart.
Exactly. That's the thing. And eventually, and they actually did meet, and that's what he said.
Yeah.
Now, back to the issue of him being an adult who's married and has his own children. he was having issues within his marriage, and I think the wife cheating.
Yeah, so Grace is the wife.
Yes.
And despite being given everything by the man, Grace met a loctician.
Yes.
Young loctician.
Kababa.
Ako, how old? 25.
Yeah.
Young, energetic man. Young, energetic man, and they had a thing.
Stamina.
He cheated with him.
Yes.
Yeah. So
let me tell you, one of the notes that I wrote.
I can't believe that's the only What were the stories that you wrote? One of the notes.
The first note that I wrote,
Yeah,
is women in male dominated
fields.
Because that's exactly what the wife Grace is doing. Akona kam.
Yeah.
I don't know what do they call it. Ben 10.
Ben 10, that's what they call it. The streets call it.
The streets call it, but we are not the streets. So this car, but her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Now, one of the biggest takeaways that I took from this is the man said, I'm not leaving the marriage because I already have children and I don't want my children to go into another marriage feeling that I am not the primary child, because all his life alikuwa, huyu ni mtoto wa mama yangu, huyu ni mtoto wa bibi yangu.
Yeah, so the guy knows the wife is cheating,
Exactly.
but akolizileza, you know what? Acha tu ikwe.
As long as my children,
acceptance.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what she does. She's a cheater, but you know what? I love my family more.
My children.
My children specifically more.
Yeah, and what made me happy about this story is that it was one of the first cases of men staying for the kids that I had had.
Yeah,
of course, I know that they exist, but I just had not heard of one of those cases in life.
Do you think it's a trauma response though? I feel like it's a trauma response.
For sure it is.
Yeah.
Do you need like attachment? You have attachment issues with your father. Or abandonment
That's what
issues.
they call father issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what they call father issues. But yeah, I think he stayed for the kids. So all the best to him.
All the best to you.
Yeah. Is there any other story that stood out for you that you want to highlight?
Something must kill a man.
Which number is that?
Number 4. So something must kill a man. This is the 4th story in this book. This is how the story goes. Talks about a pediatrician and his patients. A patient or a pediatrician are children, yes? So he talks about how this child was sick.
I remember it.
This child was sick.
Yes.
He came in as a patient, and who was accompanying him? The mom.
Yes.
So, Daktari Kuna, the mom, fall in love in a way with the mom because he was attracted to her. So after the first visit, the second visit, hakuwa namtoka kwa akili. And see, I have the records and the number of this woman. Let me call her.
I think alimtafuta Facebook kwanza. Ama alimcall.
I think it's from the records. You can call and hi, so how is the child doing? And this is Kenya. Which doctor anakukolingi personally kuuliza how are you doing?
No.
Yeah. So after all the hulabaloo, akamwambia, can I take you out for coffee? Mind you, this woman was like 10 years older than the pediatrician. So there was that aspect. But the guy was so young, in his 20s. No, he was 33.
30s probably.
And
pediatrician in his 20s.
and the madam was 46-year-old. So
crazy.
The age difference is even more than 10.
Yeah.
So what happened? They had a thing together, but because the pediatrician was so young and the woman was established, like she had business, she had her money and everything.
Yeah.
Also, she was wise because she knew that this guy was young and there would come a time where the man was like, I want kids. And the madam was like, you know what, I don't want any more kids.
Were they in a solid relationship? Like
I don't think it was a solid. But it was just a situationship maybe, but the guy
man
was
started wanting
a heel
for
her. So what happened? Oh, I'm telling the story.
I don't know. I don't remember the story. It's on you.
So they had that discussion. The madam told him that, you know what, I don't want any more kids, and I know you're young. You definitely have dreams to be a father, and things like that. But the guy was like, no, you know what, I love you too much. You know what, I can forgo the dream, but you know, the lady was like, I know.
You're going to resent me.
You're going to resent me at the end of the day. So let's do this. You just go find your own mama. Let's just break this.
Mhm.
So the guy decides what? It's fine. You don't want me. Hata mimi naweza pata mtu. I'm a young doctor, hot blood, energetic. I can
Mambo
find
ni mengi.
someone. He found someone, married her, but I married her. So on the day of the wedding night, before the wedding day,
Yeah.
that wedding night in Chongani, there was a bachelor party with his boys. So they went out drinking with the boys and things like that. So katikati ya usiku, then guess who disappears? The guy.
Groom amepotea. Kesho ni harusi.
Kesho ni harusi.
6 hours.
Ameenda wapi? Kwa madam.
Madam is crazy. Mimi niko na madam.
Ameenda kwa madam, like the
46-year-old.
year-old. So ameenda hapo, amemwambia, oh my God, tomorrow I'm getting married. Akalia, maybe they had a good time.
But it's you I want.
It's you I want. And now I was just imagining. Imagine if you are the chick,
The bride.
the bride to be. Mwanamke ameenda huko, amefanya nini? Amelia how it's another woman she wants, not you.
Alafu asubuhi anatafutwa, hata the best man hajui ako wapi.
The best man ajui penye yako, but in the morning, they had a moment with the madam, and the madam gave him permission to go get married. That's so weird.
Permission is crazy. Business. Yeah.
So in the morning, the best groom called. He picked, akakuja kupikiwa up from the madam's place. Then they went to the church. And the wedding day, nanuka bado, like the stench of alcohol
and sin
that he did the previous night. Anyway, things happened. He got a child for marriage, and whatever. Then one day, I don't know how they reconnected.
I don't remember that part.
I can't remember, but they eventually reconnected after a while, after being in marriage. And from the reconnection, they were together all the time.
Yeah.
Not together all the time, but they were seeing each other frequently. So in a way, the madam was the side chick.
Relationship did not stop.
It did not stop. At Tujambiwa, it stopped anywhere. Yeah. He still cheated on his wife with the madam. And hence the title of the story is Something Must Kill a Man. In this case is the
That's exactly what he has chosen.
And I remember the guy also mentioned that, of course, the wife, who's called Kami, is not stupid. He knows something is going on.
Yeah.
She knows something is going on. And one day, it might come up, but not today. It hasn't come up. So let the cheating continues. So that was wild.
Kaendelee sana.
It was giving Nairobi.
Simekuwa 1 hour. Tumalizie.
So maybe you can mention a story.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have one that I want. Number 7. Which is another heavy topic that I don't know why ilinikasirisha sana. So let me tell you. It's about like the cerebral palsy involved and the church involved. Is that?
Yes, that one. We should talk about that.
Exactly. So it's called I Touched Thatiah. First of all, your title, I hated it. I hated that title.
I Touched Thatiah.
Because it also has like a bit of power play in that situation. But do you want to give a bit of background? Or should I give it?
Let me give it halfway, then you give it halfway.
Sawa. Chango.
Aya, so in my notes, I wrote, what was the name of the guy? So I wrote his name, because I wrote, bad.
Hey.
But I wrote, this particular man is overly mad.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, we are told about this. So I Touched Thatiah is a story of a guy who married a lady
called Naliaka. At least
called Naliaka.
Yeah.
Naliaka was a Christian woman who was overly religious.
She actually didn't start off religious.
Yeah.
She was
a kawaida.
I don't know, a typical like church goer.
Yeah.
Before they conceived a child, and the child was born prematurely, and they had complications during the birth process, and the child had epilepsy and cerebral palsy. Now, when they went back to the marriage, the woman, of course, got into motherhood mode as the primary parent and was primarily focused on caring for the child, the medication, therapy process, etc. Now, the guy started to complain about feeling neglected.
Yeah.
There as I'm still a husband, but I don't feel like a husband. All your focus has gone to the child.
Who is sick and abled different.
Exactly. And the mother is the primary
caregiver.
as
Yeah.
well. Now, I think Naliaka was mourning
Mm.
the disability of her child,
Yeah.
and she started to seek solace in the church. Now you
Mm.
can talk about the church and the over religiousness. Okay, Nindele.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry. Sharon is coughing. Yeah. You did.
Set. Women are rats. Oh. So Naliaka started to become overly religious and sought solace from the church. But her issues that she was experiencing is that the church Sunday school, because her child used to go to Sunday school, walikuwa na, you know how people perceive people living with such disabilities differently. Wanamwambia, oh, weka mtoto wako kando, or like the child was very segregated. So she started to go with him to Sunday school,
Yes.
so that she can protect him. Kidogo kidogo, she started to be a Sunday school teacher. Kidogo kidogo, it's like she is paying money to the church to pray for her child, etc, etc. One of the things that came across in this particular story was that how having a child who is born with a disability can affect the marriage.
Union, yeah.
Can affect the union, exactly.
Parents, yes.
Because he was complaining a lot about
Feeling neglected.
wear, I don't know what ngoza or. He started to wear very
So high.
long clothes and
Sorry, Sharon.
He started to complain about how very religious she started to act, etc, etc. Now you can bring up the Nutella story if you know it.
Of course I know it, I read it.
Who is
So
Nutella?
what happened? Nutella is Naliaka's niece. So what happened is they had to bring someone who would help with the daily chores, because what happened is Naliaka went to, where did she go so that Naliaka?
I think Alienda, she went to therapy. She went to a psychiatrist.
Yeah,
because
in a way.
the guy was telling her, you're actually losing your mind.
Yeah.
So go and get therapy at a hospital.
Yeah, it was a boarding facility.
Yeah.
So she was not at home.
Away for like 3 months.
Yeah. So they needed someone to come in and take care of the children and the household at large. So Naliaka came in because she was Natella came in because she was Naliaka's niece, to just take care of the household and
the child.
So what happened is this bloody man.
We're not cussing in this.
Cussing. Sorry. So this bloody man just took note of Naliaka's way of doing. He liked how he takes care of the kid, runs the household, takes care of him, and anampikia nini nini. Then one day he touched Nutella.
What was happening was, I think Nutella was cleaning or something.
Yeah.
And then she walked into the room.
No, he called her.
Yeah, exactly.
He called her, Nutella, yes, come here. Yes, what do you want? Oh. Then one thing leads to another.
Yeah.
Some physical moments between them.
Yes.
How old was Nutella?
I don't know. She was
really, really quite young. Underage.
No, she was. I don't think it was minor. She wasn't underage. Yeah. But there's still a power play in that, because at the end of the day, it's like, oh, you're the owner of the house. You're technically my boss.
And you're providing everything to me. In a way, it's like she didn't have much. Also, I don't think her cortex frontal lobe was developed.
So she wasn't 25.
She wasn't 25 for sure.
Yeah.
But what happened was later on, this man took up Nutella to be like the wife, quote unquote.
Yeah.
They had kids together. Literally, they lived like husband and wife. Nutella loved Naliaka's children like hers.
Yeah.
Just took care of the family. Naliaka came and found that Nutella had taken over the household. Ate akasema, you know what, this is not my home anymore, let me pack and leave. Akatoka, akacha watoto, see, they're being taken care of vizuri.
Yeah.
Akacha watoto akaenda. So what happened is they formed a family and they lived together. So the problem is this man wanted to like officiate the marriage officially.
Yeah.
But because literally Nutella is relative to your first wife, how do the elders and the family take you in?
Walikuwa na that issue. I don't remember that
issue.
part, but yeah, I get it. And one of the other things that stood out for me as we close off.
Also, there are like 3 million women in the world.
I know, right?
You just choose Nutella.
But this part actually explains why he chose her.
Yeah.
One of the lines was, many people ask me why I chose Nutella. And his response was, she was there. Literally in 3 words, she was there.
It's you who are, I'm not going to be triggered in this episode. Pia mi ilikuwa inanikasirisha hiyo story sana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are all the stories that stood out for my end.
Yeah, so
any other
one
final
more.
ones? Yeah.
It's story number 12. Mother's enormous secrets.
I don't have notes on that, but yeah, let me hear your thoughts.
The story is my mother's enormous secret. So it talks about this guy who was a thug. So backstory of how he came to the world. So his father and mother used to live in the village. One day, the father decided, let me go to Nairobi because nikiwa hapa, I can't fend for my children nicely. Maybe the city has
better opportunity.
It's greener pastures. So the father went to Nairobi, and guess what? He did not come back home until 3 years elapsed.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. So back to the village, the mother worked her behinds off to cater for the children. She worked really. So on coming back home, there was a child that this guy did not leave when he went to Nairobi.
And it's been 3 years. Doesn't make sense.
The
gestation period in 9 months.
So at first, when he came back, he thought maybe this child is maybe his brother's. So he was just wondering, where is this child not going home? So,
Mamake
amchukui rada. Then he asked the wife, why is this child still here? So the wife was like, this is your child. So the guy is like, wait, what? I've been in Nairobi for more than 3 years. So this is clearly not my child. So the wife is like, no, this is your child.
Women in what? Male-dominated fields.
So what happened was, from the explanation is, she had to do what she had to do to cater for the family.
I think it's actually the elders who explained
exactly, because the guy was like, let me take you back to kushtaki kwa your parents and my parents, but everyone collectively were just like, you know what, she had to do what she had to do. This is your child, and umepata familia yako, it's well, it's running. Of course, someone else was here, but you know what, this is your child. So that's why this guy was born. The ex in the story was how he came to life. Like, he was a child.
It's him. That's the son. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this is the son. Let's name him X, because for some reason I can't remember the name. So X was born that way. Like, he grew up with 2 parents that the father is not the father, but is the father.
Yes.
Yeah, so after being in the village for a while, the dad decided, let me take my family to Nairobi because huko kuna more greener pastures. Traveled, relocated to Nairobi, and this ex was was a very problematic child because he used to steal a lot.
Yeah.
At a 1 bob, 2 bob, 3 bob from parents to school, other children, and things like that. Because habits die young, when he was of age, not really of age, because teenager Evie, he was involved in a gang, and he was caught one day stealing with violence. So what happened, because it's
a really bad crime in Kenya.
Yeah, he was caught, arrested, taken to jail, a juvenile court jail, and from there, afanya nini? He served his term. Something happened. Then he was released when he was 22.
Pardoned, presidential pardon.
He was released at 22. So on coming out, of course, he learned his lesson. He got necessary skill. He just worked kidogo, and muda punde si punde akapatana na a beautiful girl who he married, and he really did well in his business and his work, that he got money, became successful. But at the end of the day, he was telling us, though his life changed, in a way, he still feel like he's a secret to the family, like he's just abandoned. At first, it was because he was not the son of his father.
Yeah.
So there was that aspect where we see way to ata. You get, you don't know your father, who don't know who your father is. Wewe ni nani. So the second issue was he went to jail. Like he was a bad man to the society. So there's that shame to the family that this is a very
Gangster.
So though he had reformed upon coming out of jail,
Yeah.
but there was that aspect of
Bado kuna kale ka shell.
but of course, humans being humans, the family still use him to get money and things like that because he's successful at the end of the day. So as much as he helps the family wamemkubali, there's that aspect pia. Mimi si wenu. Black sheep, yeah, he's a black sheep, and yeah, there still he knows that he's just being used because he has money. Ndani ya roho, in the heart of hearts, he knows that
He's unwanted.
just unwanted. And I think that's the last story we'll cover.
Yeah. I think that's the last one. There are 7 other stories.
Please read the book if you want to see the lives of Nairobi men Joan Thatiah talked to for 3 years and put it in a book.
Yeah. And there are also 2 other books within the series of Confessions. She has like Confessions of Nairobi Women Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
And
talk about the author, sorry.
Yes.
She's written at least 1 book every year from 2016.
Damn.
She has 8 books out.
Have you read any other?
No, this was the first one.
I think we should read the other Confessions.
Wacha tusome vitu ya furaha kwanza.
Okay, sawa. Let's read something bubbly and yellow. Sawa. Do you want to close off the episodes?
But anyway, it was an interesting read. A page turner for sure. If you want to start reading, this is a good start.
Yes.
Disclaimer, of course, the heavy topics that's covered. Simple way of writing.
I loved that.
The font that she's used is appealing and attractive. So haisa kupatia stress. You won't squint your eyes too much.
But miwani hamtateseka.
Hamtateseka.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it from me. You have anything else?
No, I don't. I just
really
want to know what's next. What book we should read next. We'll think about
it. For sure, it's Kenya. We've said.
Yeah, and it's a happy book. Has to be a happy book.
We don't know if it's a happy book.
Okay. Nilisahau. I've actually forgotten that we
So our next read, Me with Sharon. This book by Jackson Biko. The latest one.
One of the recent ones.
Yeah. I think that's it from us.
Yes.
Please share, subscribe. Tell us what you think about the book or what you think about the stories that you've covered.
Yeah. And if you've read it as well, let us know which story is your favorite. Bye-bye.